Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today at our business launch of this VE Expo. So my name is Ida and I'll be the presenter today. And today I'll be sharing about Eduwis career path. Okay, it's going to be a very short session of only 30 minutes. So we'll be going through about how can you advance your career especially in early childhood education industry. Okay, so let's just get started. So I'll just mute everyone while this is going on to make sure that everything goes smoothly. Okay, so before I start, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Ida T, and I'm the Franchise Development Executive of Eduwis Sdn Bhd, which is also the Eduwis Preschool franchise. Okay, just a little bit background information about myself. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison studying economics and education. And I'm also one of the trainers in Eduwis to train our preschool operators and also teachers. And currently, I have more than 4 years of formal and informal experience in early child education, both in Malaysia and in the United States. And currently, as of now, I have actually involved in more than 20 preschools set up from scratch. Okay. So before we start everything, I'd like to remind everyone to actually like our Facebook page so that you can get to know a little bit more about Eduwis and to get very updated about all the news and events, upcoming events. Okay, so let's just get started. So before I talk about Eduwis career path, I'd like to first talk about what is career path itself. Okay, so career path is actually a sequence of jobs, okay, that actually leads to your career, long-term or short-term career goals, okay? So it actually helps you to achieve your career objectives. So what's your end goal? What's your end game, okay? So whatever jobs that you're working in, so usually it has a career path and it leads to something that hopefully, some things that you wanted to achieve in the future. Okay, it doesn't have to be a linear path, doesn't have to be like step one, step two, step three. It could be step one, straight away to 3 to 5. Okay, so it really depends. Okay, so and also especially in early childhood education. So what is your career path and also what is your career goal? Okay, what's your ultimate goal if you're actually currently in early childhood education? I believe most of the people in this Zoom room today is actually in this industry, early child education industry, or maybe it's just in in just education industries. Okay, so no matter if you're a teacher working in a preschools, okay, usually your end games, okay, your end goals actually leads to starting a preschools. Okay, which this is actually what I know from what I have actually shared or talked to with a lot of people in these early child education sectors. Okay. And then why is it important to understand your career path? It is very, very important actually to know your career path and to understand how you can advance, how you can progress in your career is because it gives you a very clear goal on what do you want to achieve. Okay, so you have been working all this while, you have been in this industry for maybe 3 years, 5 years. So what does this path leads to? What do you want to achieve? And then do you have a timeline goal as well? So when do you want to, maybe let's say in 5 years time, you want to achieve your dream of opening a preschools, or maybe for your short-term dreams, maybe in 3 years, you want it to be a supervisor or principal first. Okay, so it is very important to understand your career path so that you can work towards it because it's one step at a time, right? Okay, so maybe you can start from teachers and then how should you progress? So that is why today I'll be sharing with you the Eduwis career path. Okay, so this is actually a very straightforward career path. So how you can advance in your career. So usually the starting point, let's say if you're very, very new in this industry, usually you're just starting out, okay? In our schools, in our organizations, usually the lowest levels, or usually I would say the youngest, are usually the interns while they're still in schools, studying early child education or education, they're interested in these industries. So that's why they'll apply to be an intern in our schools first. So usually that's the first step, okay? And then at the same time, or after that, you could be promoted to be an assistant teacher. Maybe while you're still, maybe you're doing a part-time course, part-time diploma early child education course. So you can be an assistant teacher, okay? And then the next step to it is a junior teacher. And also after that, when you're a little bit more advanced, going through a lot more trainings, gaining more experience. Sorry, let me see if anyone's not muted yet. Okay, so I'll just mute everyone in case there's any disruptions. Okay, so after senior teacher, this is actually a new term, I believe, shadow principal. I'll go into this a little bit further later on, but there's something like this called shadow principal, so keep note. And then after that, it's like, after that, you'll be able to become a principal. So principal usually it's the leader of a preschools, managing the preschools. Okay, so let's go into the next slide where we will go into detail of each of the job band and job title. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, the first one, it's intern. Usually the timeline is around like 3 to 6 months, and then you're still pursuing, usually that's when you're still pursuing your early child education. Okay, and then one level up is assistant teacher, as mentioned earlier. So usually this one, you still do not have your diploma in early child education cert yet. But after that, when you progress to junior teachers, okay, even like in junior teachers itself, there's different bands. So that's how you can advance. So this is a very detailed breakdown. It doesn't has to be step by step, okay, from junior teacher, assistant teacher to junior teacher band B1 to B2 to C1, C2. You could actually skip. Okay, it depends on what's your academic qualification and then your experience and how long have you been in these industries. Okay, and then one thing that I like to point out is, as mentioned earlier, it's this shadow principal. Shadow principal, as you can see, is actually in between a senior teacher and a principal. It's not a principal yet. Okay, it's called shadow principal for certain reasons. You'll get into it later on. And after that, you become a director principals where you actually own a center already by that time. Okay, and then even higher, there's actually a director principal with actually more than 5 shadow principal, because when you're actually at this level, you are able to guide some other shadow principals already. Okay, so here's an example of the quarterly assessment of Eduwis career path. How do you actually advance? Because let's get back to here. You can see you can actually advance through these levels, right? So with how do you actually advance? It's actually depending on your KPA, your key performance area that you need to focus on every single quarter. Okay, so for example, usually during quarter one, we'll be focusing on familiarizing the daily operation, how it works. But every single quarter, you will have a different areas to focus on. So it actually helps you to actually just focus on one thing at a time to actually help you advance in your career, because it's very hard to focus on a lot of things. You cannot focus on like getting to know the whole systems and learn to talk to parents at the same time. So that's actually a very different thing. So it's easier for you all to actually focusing on just one at a time. Okay, so this is just an example, and then it has we have something like this for every single levels to actually help you to be clearer on what are the directions that you're going forward. Okay, so basically the Eduwis career path is actually your shortest and most direct path to achieve your dreams to actually open a preschools. Okay, because in this program, it will actually design it specifically to help you to start a preschools. So that is why we'll focus on every single aspects in terms of the skills and knowledge needed to start a preschool. So we will actually train you to groom you to become a qualified principal. Okay, so earlier on, I've been talking about shadow principal. Shadow principal, what is this actually about? I believe if this is your first time hearing about Eduwis, or if you're not that familiar with Eduwis yet, this might actually be your first time hearing this term shadow principal. Okay, so what is shadow principal? Shadow principal, basically, it is a principal trainee or acting principal whenever the principal is not available. Okay, acting principal is basically doing what the principal will be doing, but it's not 100% an independent principal yet. So you can see in this, what's this called, this chart, okay? The shadow principal is right below of the principal, but it is above of all other employees in preschools. For example, teacher, teacher assistant, intern, and cleaner. Okay, so basically shadow principal also overlook all these people. Okay, so basically they are doing what the principal should be doing, but with the monitor of a principal. And how do you become a shadow principal? Okay, so one of the most basic requirements, of course, is because this is actually a program developed in Eduwis preschools to actually help our teachers as well. So the first and foremost, the requirements actually, you need to be an Eduwis teacher first. So you need to be currently teaching in one of Eduwis preschools. So let's say if you're actually right now in other industries, or let's say you're teaching, but you're not in Eduwis preschools and you're interested to join this program, the first thing that you actually need to do is actually to apply to teach in one of our Eduwis preschools. Eduwis right now, we have around 66 centers across Malaysia. So basically, you just have to pick one of the nearest one to you. And of course, you need to see if there's actually vacancy, okay? Or let's say if you're actually having trouble looking for a job in Eduwis preschools, or you can't find any that's near to you, you can always reach out to our HQ, and then we are able to help you to see if there's any centers near you that are having vacancy, okay? Of course, if you wanted to be a principal one day, you will need to have a diploma in early childhood education. So ECE is actually a short term, an acronym for early childhood education. So the diploma in early child education is actually one of the requirements, is actually the academic qualification that you needed to actually start at preschools or register a preschools in Malaysia. Okay, this is actually a rule that just implemented a few years back. Okay, so with that, you actually do not need to complete the course. Even though you are still currently pursuing, let's say you are doing a part-time course, you can also start a preschools with this diploma in early child education. Therefore, our requirement here is the same. You have to be either an early child education graduate, or even if you're still pursuing it, you're still doing the part-time course, it's not a problem. You can always do it part-time, and then while doing that, you can also work in Eduwis preschools. So let's say if even right now you are from another industries, you wanted to start a preschools in the future, but right now because you're from another industries, you don't have confidence, you don't know how it works, you wanted to start from the ground level, and you want to join our Shadow Principal program, so you need to go and take this diploma in early child education and start working in one of our Eduwis preschools. Okay? And then one of the requirements actually, not just you need to be currently teaching, you need to have been in this school for at least 3 months, because it takes a little bit time for you to actually get to know a little bit more and get about Eduwis preschools, Eduwis program, how it works, the syllabus and all. Even though 3 months is not enough, but 3 months is actually a good time for you to get into this whole flow, get into the whole situation already. You need to have been employed in Eduwis preschools for more than 3 months. And of course, you need to have good performance based on your KPI, okay, based on your key performance index. So for all teachers, you have your own KPI, what you need to achieve in this month or this quarter. So you need to have good performance, which means you need to exceed, okay, your KPI. And then at the same time, you will need to have good attendance, which means you have to attend all Eduwis monthly teachers training. For those that do not know, Eduwis preschools, we actually have monthly teachers training for all our teachers, okay? And they are also compulsory for all teachers to attend, okay? So it's a very basic requirements that you need to attend at least 80%, okay? But let's say if you join 3 months, if you just try to join 3 months, it means that you actually have to attend all the trainings, okay? So next on, who should apply to this program? Okay, so in my opinion, basically, it's anyone that is passionate in education. You love being in this education industry, you like children, and then secondly, you need to be ambitious, okay? Because this program is actually for people that are actually proactive, have a dream, and most importantly, planning to start a preschools, okay? Because there's actually a lot of people in these industries, no matter you're a teacher, assistant teacher, or intern, or you are just currently pursuing this early child education degree or diploma, almost all of them that actually met have a dream to actually start a preschools. But dreaming to start a preschools and planning to start a preschools is a little bit different. Planning is you have already taken into action. You already have a plan. Okay, maybe it's a longer timeline plan. Okay, maybe it's a 10 years plan that you wanted to start a preschools. Okay, maybe it's 3-year plans to actually start a preschools. No matter where you are, if you already have the planning to start a preschools in the future, I think this is the program for you. Okay, because as mentioned earlier, I think this is actually one of the shortest program that you can get in these industries or in Malaysia to actually help you to start at preschools. Okay, so how does this program actually helps you? So we need to look into the next slide, which is the benefit of joining this shadow principal program. Okay, so what's stopping people starting at preschools? In my opinion, there's actually three things. Okay, the first one is, of course, most people having this problem. It's money. So you, of course, you to start any business, okay, you need capital, okay. And then secondly, it's actually confidence. A lot of people that I actually have talked to, they have been in this industry for maybe they work for like 5 years, 7 years. They have this diploma in early child education. They say they wanted to start, they dream to start a preschools, but they have not put into action yet. It's because they're actually scared. They're actually lack of confidence because they are not sure if they are ready or not. Okay. And then the third thing that they are actually stopping people from starting a preschools is actually the idea of actually having to start something from scratch is actually quite scary, I think. Okay. So to solve this three problem, the last problem, it's not actually a problem, I would say, because there is something called franchise, Eduwis franchise, where we actually provide our program, our systems for people that wanted to start a preschools. Okay, so the third problem is already solved. Secondly, it's actually confidence. Okay, I think this shadow principal program, it's not just only giving people that are joining this program the skills, the knowledge, and the whole systems actually build confidence in this the candidates. Okay, because with this very structured program, you will actually know, okay, step by step, every single aspect that you need to brush up on, you need to get skill in order to start a preschools. So throughout this process, you actually build confidence because you have first you already set a goal to open a preschools, and then with this is actually this the detailed career advancement planning. Okay, the step-by-step planning for you, and you can see it and you will do it, and once you follow and you reach all your KPI, okay, and then that's when you know that you're actually ready to start a preschool. Okay, and then for the first problem that I mentioned earlier, money. Okay, so with this shadow principal program, it is a program by Eduwis HQ, Eduwis Sandram Berhad. Okay, and then with that, we're actually giving equity voucher to our candidates in our shadow principal program. Okay, so let's say if you actually wanted to start a preschools and then you actually join this program already. At the end of this program actually means that you actually have completed and reached all the goals, okay, to like your each quarterly KPI. And then at the end, which means you are actually qualified to be a principal already, which means you finish your shadow principal program. Okay. Once you're ready to open a preschools, Eduwis HQ will actually open a preschool together with you. Because first, as I mentioned earlier, one thing that actually saw a lot of people opening a preschool is about money. Okay. Because to be honest, it's actually, I don't think this is a secret anymore. This early child education industry is one of the most underpaid industry, I would say. Okay, because of the long working hours, the effort that all the teachers have put in, and what the teachers are being paid, and sometimes I'll say the respect that we actually got in these industries is not tally. Okay, so that is also one of the reasons why money is one of the main reasons why a lot of people, well, a lot of teachers that are currently working could actually start their own preschools. So with this, at Eduwis, we are actually going to open a preschool together with you, which means you are investing in a preschool with you. And you will also get equity voucher, okay, once you actually finish this shadow principal program. Okay, so that actually solve part of your money problem. And at the same time, because you get this equity voucher, you will also have ownership in this center. Okay, so you own a certain percentage. Maybe at that time, you still couldn't take out a big sum of money. Okay, but a little bit, you actually get to own a little bit more and more of the centers. Okay. And of course, the guidance and progression plan, this is actually part of the things that I've already talking a lot about, okay? With all these systems, the programs, what you need to achieve, and then you will actually be guided by your current principal. Remember earlier on, I mentioned that one of the requirements to join this program is that you need to be an Eduwis teacher. Okay, so when you're an Eduwis teachers, and then before you want to join the shadow principal program, you also need to get the support from your current principal. Okay, so which means if you get a support from your current principal while you are going through this shadow principal program, you also get a lot of guidance. Okay, from not just Eduwis HQ, but also the person that's closest to you, which is your principal of your current centers. Okay, they will also help you and guide you to progress in this whole this SPP, the Shadow Principal Program. Okay, so those are one of the few, four of the few benefits of joining our Shadow Principal Program. Okay, so next on, it's if you're already, you think, okay, this is something very good. You think this is definitely for you because you want to start preschools, and then you think you can join Eduwis preschools as a teacher. Then the next step is to apply for this program. So when you can apply for this program does not open, the application doesn't open whole year long. We actually open only twice a year, which is on March and December, which means the upcoming opening of this application will be on March 2021. Okay, so I'm actually not too sure about the exact deadline. Okay, but you can check all of these things out on our website. You just go to www.eduwis.edu.my, and then you can go to the career section, and then you can find this shadow principal program. So if you wanted to apply, of course you need to join Eduwis Preschool as a teacher. And then if you're already a teacher here, so you can submit the online application before the deadline on March 2021. Okay, so just go to our website and fill out the form. Okay, and then what's the procedure looks like? So after you finish your online application, so we'll have a first round screen through. Okay, so after the first round screen through, we'll shortlist, okay, because we only can have like a fixed amount of participants or candidates at a time, okay? So we'll shortlist some of the candidates that actually applied, and then they'll go through interviews, okay? So after the interview, there's one more round of screenings, okay? So after the interview round screenings, those that are successfully become a candidate in our Shadow Principal program, so they will go through the SPP training. I don't think I've mentioned this, but the SPP is actually an acronym for Shadow Principal Program. Okay, so after you have been selected as a Shadow Principal, you will go through the Shadow Principal trainings. Okay, and after that, you will have the quarterly performance review. So every quarter, which means every 3 months, okay, we will not just our HQ, together with your principal, we'll have a quarterly performance review to see if you have reached your, if you have exceed or reached, or are you below the expectation. Okay, so once you've gone through all of this for every levels, then you'll be successfully become a principal. Okay, so when you become a principal, that's when we're actually opening a center. So that's all today. Thanks for joining me. Bye.